Hey there, how's it going, everybody? My name is the sheep, and I'm very exhausted. I just got done running laps. Yeah, brother. The fuck is up, y'all? Welcome to the Underground Sound, the podcast for your mom's ass. This is episode 15 of the Underground Sound. And this is going to be a very awesome episode. We're bringing Bryan Skyline back on. Professional wrestler, mixed martial arts enthusiast. And we're going to be breaking down the whole entire huge Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather fight coming up on August 26th. I wanted to do this episode because I'm very much in love with this fight. I love combat sports. Bryan loves combat sports. I knew he'd be the perfect person to talk to about this. He'd be able to add a different point of view on things than I could provide. And what we do is we just take this fight and we break it down. We talk about it all the way from conception, when it was just talk, all the way through to the how it actually got put together, the press conferences, and then we go in and we break down the fight itself. We give a full analysis. How could this fight play out? And what are the ramifications of the outcomes? This is a fucking awesome podcast. You're gonna love it. We also talk a little bit of New Japan Pro Wrestling. For those that don't know or don't care, if you're a wrestling fan, you might have heard of it. If you're a diehard wrestling fan, you certainly know of New Japan. If you don't like wrestling at all and you're listening for the boxing, it doesn't fucking matter because, first of all, it's my podcast, so fuck you. But no, I do want you to listen for the Floyd fight. But the New Japan plays into it because there's a history of mixed martial arts before it was MMA as a sport. There were boxer versus wrestler and boxer versus pro wrestler and boxer versus kickboxer. Mixed martial arts has been around a long time. This is not the first time there's been a crossover, but this certainly is the biggest. So it's good to listen to how New Japan Pro Wrestling, a more sports-like wrestling product, ties in with this fight here. And then we also talk a little bit of UFC 214. John Jones beats Daniel Cormier and calls out Brock Lesnar. So more cross combat sport competition, if you will here. So it all ties together. We give incredible thought-provoking analysis on this. I think we've covered every angle humanly fucking possible. So you're not going to find any stone left unturned here. Bryan Skyline, returning guest. We don't talk much about Bryan on this episode because we did a whole interview with him back in the archives. I don't remember what episode. I probably should have looked it up. But you can go look it up. It's there on YouTube. It's on iTunes. We talk all about his wrestling career. But today, we're just two fans of combat sports talking about the biggest combat sport event of all time. And it's going to be a fun episode. So sit back, take it in. It's longer. We just got going. So if you need to break it in parts or if you want to skip past the wrestling, if you're not a wrestling fan, I get all that. But check out this analysis. It's going to be a great show. Just in real quick news here before we get into it. Freedom Entertainment has been busting our asses. And by Freedom Entertainment, I do mean me and Dusty and other people in and around and involved. Lucas James has been contributing a lot right recently. Cranium's even working on shit. We're working hard to put out some new content for the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018. We're going to kind of be bombarding you shit and have a heavy presence. There's not anything I'm ready to announce specifically yet, but I would say we're at the point where by next month's episode we could have a lot to talk about in that regard as well. But enough about that bullshit. Bryan Skyline on the Underground Sound, the podcast for your mom's ass. Floyd Mayweather versus Connor McGregor. Alright, welcome to the Underground Sound episode 15, or I think it's 15, somewhere in that area. Today we're going to be breaking down the Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor boxing fight here coming up on August 26th. Wanted to jump on it before the fight came out and give it a full breakdown and analysis. And we're going to do that with a returning guest here. None other than pro wrestling sensation and founder of Aurora Pro Wrestling, Bryan Skyline. What's up, Bryan?
Hey, Sheep, how's it going, man? What an exciting month to be a fight fan, eh, for the combat sports, huh?
Yeah, this is definitely the biggest month, probably ever, I would assume, in combat sports.
Oh, for sure. And especially right now, it's such a perfect time for them to capitalize it with, NBA Finals just getting over. And they announced McGregor and Mayweather. As soon as that was over, then we have UFC 214 from last night, UFC 215, and then the big, huge fight before baseball goes in the playoffs and NFL returns. So you want to talk about exciting stuff in sports, it's the combat game right now.
Perfect timing, like you said. Yeah. Do you think the fight was chosen to happen so soon because of that? Because of the timing and trying to squeeze it in between other shit that might take attention away from it?
Oh, absolutely. Dana White ain't no dummy. I mean, he knows how to market this thing, and like everyone knows, somewhere right now, like the only sport going now is baseball, and he just got off the All-Star break. And no one, I mean, this is when it starts getting interesting if you're a baseball fan, but nothing really happens till September, so why not put the biggest fight on the world when there's nothing else really going on of significance?
Yeah, absolutely, and we're gonna break it down in full from conception all the way up until right before execution here, and we're going to go through it detail by detail. But before we do that, Bryan, let's talk about some other combat sports going on here. We got the G1 climax going on if you're a pro wrestling fan. I'm sure at least half the people that would be interested in listening to the Floyd Connor fight podcast would be wrestling fans. Then we got UFC's got a lot going on right now too. What are your thoughts on some of that?
All right, well let's get on with the G1 Climax, which is the premier tournament in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which if anyone is a wrestling fan is on absolutely fucking fire right now. We can talk about Omega Okada from Wrestle Kingdom from January, which was a 6-star match, and then their rematch from Dominion 2 months ago, which was a 6.25-star match, and then the G1 special that they had in Long Beach, which was 2 phenomenal nights of wrestling. Not to mention the Bullet Club in New Japan selling out every hot topic in North America, United States, and now they're going to be selling all that in North America. G1 is like the premier tournament. Like every match, whether it's 10 minutes or 30 minutes, is a main event, and it is exciting because you really don't know what's going on.
The G1, for those that don't know, and I mean, I'm pretty new to it too. I mean, I've been following New Japan since probably Wrestle Kingdom 9, I think, was when it started to
Right.
peak. The first one that Jim Ross worked on, when it kind of really took
Right. That was
America's
the time
attention.
and really started to make their foray into the United States, North America too.
But the G1, for those that don't know, it's a massive tournament. It's one of the biggest events that New Japan runs. It's like a round robin style tournament, and the winner gets the title shot at Wrestle Kingdom. So it's kind of like the Royal Rumble for New Japan, but a tournament style. Kind of talk about the structure of the tournament. From what I understand, it's like two groups, like a A and a B group. They all wrestle each other round robin style, and then you earn points by wins or draws. Or explain how that works, and kind of who are some of the big names in it this year who might win.
Okay. Well, the G1 is pretty much very much international flair, like your World Cup of soccer. Everything's done in blocks. Like there's a block A and a block B with 10 wrestlers in each block, and you win it. If you win by submission or pinfall, count out, whatever, it's 2 points. A loss is 0 points, and a draw is 1 point. And whoever wins each block will fight in the finals to determine who will wrestle the champion at Wrestle Kingdom 12 this year, 13, something like that. Anyways, that's a big New Japan's version of WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom. And right now we have the last, or I guess technically this morning, G1. The G1 Climax is past its 10th day, the final day being August 12th. And we are looking at Tanahashi, who has been the ace of New Japan for one of the aces of New Japan for the last 5 years, in the lead with 8 points. Then you have six other guys right now who are at 6 points. Someone being Zack Sabre Jr., who is very unique because traditionally the G1 is a heavyweight tournament, hence the heavyweight title match, and Zack Sabre Jr. is like 160 pounds. And there has been former junior heavyweights like a Kenny Omega or a Kota Ibushi, who I'll get to in a minute, who were juniors and were promoted to the heavyweight division. But they also were kind of jacked up guys, so it's not hard to imagine. Zach's a tiny guy, and he's in one of the runnings for this right now. Then you have Bad Luck Fail, Tomohiro Ishii, whoever watched the G1 special and saw him against Kenny Omega in the final, which was mind-blowingly awesome. And then Naito, who is probably easily the biggest and best heel in wrestling right now. And Makabe and Goto, who are perennial on the fringe, always top contenders. And then Ibushi coming in as an underdog with 4 points in the Block A. And right now, Block A is so unpredictable. Like I was saying, we have Tanahashi with 8, 6 guys with 6 points each, and Ibushi kind of on the fringe, and Yoshihashi and Nagata eliminated already from the tournament. Then we go over to Block B, where it's really interesting. So you have the IWGP champion, Okada, undefeated in the tournament. And
how is the champion in the tournament? If it's for a title shot, what happens if he wins? And is the champion traditionally in this tournament, or is this a first? Like the title being on the line in the Royal Rumble?
No, the champion is traditionally in the tournament, and pretty much if the champion were to win it, he can more or less choose his opponent.
Okay. Has that happened before?
Yes, it has happened before. I don't have a reference on when it's happened, and it's always kind of teased all the time. So usually the champion is always in the tournament, and they don't always win it, obviously. They use a lot of the tournament to set up other and future title matches. But
Because this is designed specifically to create the next big number one contender, right? To give that push to the next up and coming guy.
yeah, absolutely. And then also there's a lot of other things involved with it too. Other making stars. We'll go back to Zack Sabre Jr., who on night one beat Tanahashi, who is the current and reigning Intercontinental Champion for New Japan. That's setting up an Intercontinental title match between those two down the line, depending how this tournament goes. And then right now we have Okada at 5-0 and Kenny Omega at 4-1. And the big match for them is August 12th. That's the last match of the tournament, the main event. It's Omega Okada 3. And there's lots of interesting storylines involved with that, but ultimately it's coming around to I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Omega's only loss is to Michael Elgin, who that's to set up a future United States title match between those two. So that's kind of that works in that too. If that makes sense.
Where are they going with the Omega Okada? Because they're gonna do the third. In this tournament, you would think traditionally the third would be the blow off. I don't know how many more matches they can actually do. Are they gonna go a different direction for somebody for Okada, like Naito or something, or is Omega gonna get a title shot out of this tournament at some point?
Well, see, that's a very interesting thing going on right now in that Block B. It's pretty much like I said, Omega Okada is for the main event for the very last night of the tournament, and we're looking at Okada at 5-0 and Omega 4-1. And those who've been watching the tournament, I've noticed that Omega, who at Wrestle Kingdom was definitely the heel versus Okada, and there's definitely a turn at Dominion, kind organically by the crowd. There's so much of how great the matches were. There's so much goodwill towards Omega right now that he's naturally becoming the babyface in this thing.
Yeah, it's fighting an uphill battle at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And Okada do some interviews because, like, right now in G1, everything that's happened in the last year, like Okada's starting to subtly turn heel a little bit.
Really?
Like, everyone's talking about Omega, but like at the same time, Okada, despite those two matches, every other match has been like 5-star caliber, but no one talks about how good Omega is. When they talk about the top best in the world, quote unquote, they talk either Kenny Omega or AJ Styles. But Okada is like the man. Like, he has not had a less than 5-star fucking main event level match.
I gotta ask you about that though. This 6-star, 6.5-star shit. I mean, really, Dave Meltzer gives his star ratings on the matches, and he traditionally has always had a 5-star scale. Now all of a sudden he gives the Wrestle Kingdom fight 6 stars, and then the rematch Omega Okada 2 got a 6.5 stars. Isn't this just nonsense?
I would think so if they didn't back it up.
I mean, where do you top out though? It's always been a 5-star scale. Now you're just gonna push through that glass ceiling? Are we gonna get a 7-star match?
If it's that goddamn good, maybe. Well, here's my thing. Like, when Wrestle Kingdom happened, like, I didn't watch it as it was playing because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just happened to have to go to work, and I was working at 6 to 7, and that's when the main event came on. So I was kind of just reading the live results. And like, I've been in the ring. I'm big fans of both these guys, so I'm kind of reading like, oh man, this is a really good match. And I knew who fucking won the match. I knew how Okada won the match. And when I finally got around to seeing it, I was fighting on everything. Like, just a fanboy with no control of what the hell's going on. And when he rated it 6 stars, it's like, yeah, that was probably one of the better matches of all time. I mean, it's up there with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25,
Yeah.
no doubt. And then when the Dominion happened, like, I was like, how the fuck are they gonna follow that? Like, you know, and they figured it out. They totally flipped the script and, you know, changed the narrative of the story that they're telling. They went that 60-minute draw, and instead of just being all about, I wouldn't say it's all about, but the first match being just like crazy, you know, back body drop over the top rope through a table to a floor, being like the big like standout highlight moment. The difference in Omega Okada 2 was the highlight moment was like Okada going for the Rainmaker and Kenny Omega just drops some exhaustion. So like they totally flipped the script and added more elements and more storytelling and like some more emotional connection where like Wrestle Kingdom they just went balls to the walls because the main event and this, you know, Kenny Omega's coming out party. It's like, okay, how do we continue this and make it better? You know, that's why I think it's very interesting because like right now Omega and Okada is like the big match coming out of Block B, and chances are it's gonna be like Okada undefeated with Omega's at one loss, and I'm thinking Omega's gonna beat Okada in the G1, and they're gonna both go 8-1, and Omega gets the tiebreaker to advance to the finals of the G1, and it adds more to the narrative of the story. And now Omega is going babyface, and Okada. I really believe there's going to be a double turn in that match with Omega and Okada, because like Omega is definitely the fit babyface, and Okada showing that cocky edge. So like it's a whole nother. It keeps adding to the story. It keeps getting deeper and more emotional. I guess it's very exciting.
What are some of your final thoughts on the G1 and New Japan as it stands right now, before we move into some UFC talk here?
Oh, honestly, if anyone who's disgruntled with watching WWE and hasn't found their way into Japan, I guess you're really not a pro wrestling fan, because it is literally the best wrestling in the world, and it's not how a lot of people imagine it being. It's just like, you know, really hitting hard with head drops and Japanese people you can't understand the commentary. They are without
Americanizing.
Americanizing to the point where it's Jado and Gato, who are the bookers of New Japan. Many people and themselves they talk about how they're very huge fans of, like, you know, old school Memphis wrestling, you know. And they have a lot of that influence in their booking, but they still keep like traditions of Japanese wrestling, so it's becoming like this perfect blend, especially with the way the world is. It's not like, you know, like national TV isn't the be-all, end-all, because you don't really care about nationally, because the internet and the way subscription services and what are working right now. Like, it's the world you have to appeal to. So, like, they're giving a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and everyone's performing magnificently. And there's really no complaints if you watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially in 2017. Like, they are, I mean, they're not going to topple WWE. It's not going to be like a Monday Night Wars or anything, but they are definitely going to be taking some money from Vince. You might not like that.
Oh, they're the number 2 for now, for certain. I don't think they'll ever move up to a number 1, but they're killing it. They're firing on all cylinders right now. They're breaking into the U.S., doing shows in the U.S. Like you said, they got their merch and Hot Topic, or at least the Bullet Club does. They got a lot of American talent over there. And they continue to put out a good product, and it's just a matter of time before, you know, American commentary, all that stuff, it's a matter of time before they break off a bigger piece of that WWE.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. And, like, if people, like I was saying, they have a little bit of that wrestling style thing, too, but if you want to talk about realism and, like, showmanship, like, there's no other comparison right now to New Japan, other than the UFC last night, which definitely is loving the eye that McGregor and Mayweather are putting on them right now. Especially the future potential matchups of the that they have coming up.
Yeah, and you want to talk about New Japan being sport like pro wrestling. UFC, I think, especially after last night, is more pro wrestling like sport, is it not?
Well, long and short
I
of
mean,
it
they
all.
got the booking all booked out for the next angle here.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, like, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I know like MMA fans will get pissed off and pro wrestling fans. But honestly, when it comes down to it, UFC, boxing, MMA, any combat, or WWE, pro wrestling, any combat sports, they're both, all of them are all in the same business, and that business is to put asses in the seats and sell the big fights.
Yeah, and with UFC, with Ronda Rousey being out now, and Connor's still there, but Connor's now reached that next level of superstardom where he can pretty much, call his own shots at this point. So it looks like they're trying to get back in the John Jones business here. Huge win over DC last night, and then and that's why I brought up the pro wrestling part of it, because I mean, he called out Brock Lesnar, and I mean, you can see the booking on the wall for this. Lesnar is not going to beat John Jones, but he's going to take that fight. He's gotten back into the USADA testing, which means his suspension's back up, and he'll be done with that by the end of this year, by like December. And if him and John Jones are the next fight, it's a win for John Jones, most likely, and his next step to superstardom.
I think Lesnar's USA DEA or whatever the drug testing thing is, like pretty much right up in the springtime, which is when his WWE contract runs up too. So I think that's probably when they're going. They're just kind of planting the seeds now.
Yeah.
With that. And like John Jones came out after all that bullshit and suspensions and blah blah blah, and showed why he is flat out the best in the world.
Yeah, pound for pound, certainly. He's not necessarily the biggest star, but certainly one hell of a fighter. He has star potential. I mean, he is a star, but he's not that next level megastar. Him and Brock, though, I mean, that would do hell of good business there.
Oh, absolutely. Cause, I mean, like, we talk about anticipation for fights. I mean, John Jones, the last year or so, the suspension, he was doing jiu-jitsu tournaments, he wasn't good at stand-up, and he showed how good his stand-up still fucking is. And if you want to talk about in the pure sense, John Jones is infinitely a better fighter than Brock Lesnar ever showed. But Brock's a fucking freak. Even he's probably closing, he's over 40 or closing in on 40. Either way, though, he's still just a goddamn moose,
He's not a walk in the park. It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be easy.
The 50-pound weight difference. I mean, that doesn't necessarily matter in mixed martial arts. But at the same time, it kind of does matter.
Yeah, if he does the traditional, Brock's just laying on top of him, that all the haters always say about every fight that he has. If Brock takes a nap on top of John Jones, he's gonna have a hell of a night.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, man. He just takes a nap on a big fucking deal. If you're in a real fight, would you okay, this fight isn't really good, so I'm gonna get it off you so you can duke it out and you can punch it in the face. No, I'm gonna lay on top of you and fucking punch you till you give up. That's gonna happen in the UFC or any bar fight ever.
Yeah.
They're just stupid. That's just shit talking for the sake of shit talking. People just don't know, I guess. I hate them.
But I mean, I think it's probably safe to say that Jones will probably end up winning that fight. You think?
I think so too. I just think he's just a superior fighter. His technical ability, he only keeps getting better. He's a young fucking dude, man. He was UFC light heavyweight champion when he's 23. Think about when you're 23. You get a maturity and discipline to be a fucking UFC champion.
No.
Let alone
No.
get that book too and not get a big head about it and wonder why he's partying all the time. Oh, what's that? I just got $500 million for one night's work. Guess what? We're gonna do some blow and fucking drink a whole bunch of booze. Why come 23 fucking years old and that's what they do?
He was humble as shit last night, though. It seemed like he must have had a stern talking to.
No, I definitely think the lessons they learned from the suspensions and whatnot, and being a jiu-jitsu fanatic that I am, he has gone into jiu-jitsu a lot more than he had previously. I mean, he was a great wrestler and he knew the submissions for MMA, but has gone into a lot more pure jiu-jitsu. And the thing about that is, like, you really do humble yourself to, like, your constant practices fighting life versus death. Like, you're practicing how to choke a person to death or not get choked to death. So I think that and his age is also starting, like, oh, you know what, man, I was a dumbass and, like, there's this, that, or whatever.
As we approach the conversation here with the Floyd versus Connor, what's the appeal of the fighter versus pro wrestler? Just the one guy from this sport, one guy from that sport. Brock and John Jones is the next big one, most likely for him. And then the Floyd and Connor. And then just historically, what's the big appeal for that?
It's what if. It is literally what if. And,
that was what UFC was built on to begin with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was like karate versus, kung fu. It was amateur wrestling versus sumo.
The guy with the one boxing glove.
Yeah. There's, there's all that. What was the best? Which was the best and most effective martial art? Well, it turns out a little bit of everything because human potential in that realm is limitless. When it comes to that, though, too, I think sport has evolved to a certain point where it's hard to say which one's superior. And I'll go to last night's fight with Woodley and Damian Maia, and which was I think set the record for the least amount of punches thrown in a UFC fight ever. But at the same time, if you think about the discipline that Woodley had, if you watch the fight, it went 5 rounds. Maia kept trying to go get takedowns. Woodley just kind of stopped him and just kept his distance. He knew that being the BJJ wizard that Maia is, if he gets in his hands, he's fucked. So he just kept him, even blocked Maia at one point. And, like, Maia's on his back, so like, come on down here. Woodley's like, no, I'm just going to hang out up here. You come up here.
Right.
It basically, it went 5 rounds, and people say it's the least amount of punches thrown in a UFC fight. But honestly, it was the same strategy that, like, Holly Holm used against Ronda Rousey. Like, you come here. I'll keep popping you, because I'm not going to the ground. I'm not letting you get your hands on me. So once you get your hands on me, I'm fucked. My strength is here. So, like, that is the big appeal, because, like, honestly, like, I'm a big BJJ guy, and I clearly believe that it is the most effective martial art in the world. Like, if you get into a real-life scrap, and you see it in boxing and kickboxing, you only want to get punched in the face so many times before you fucking grapple the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when you grapple the guy and you know how to grapple, then you can finish that fucker real fucking easily. But when it's in a competitive environment, you can change your strategy and keep the distance. Like where John Jones would leg kick the guy DC last night. He was just judging his distance before he didn't fucking throw his punches. What Tyler Woodley is keeping his distance because you want to keep Maia away from him. That's what Maia's strength was, is with the gripping and getting his hands on him. That makes sense.
Yeah. So certainly UFC is on a big spotlight right now. Top of their game. Just sold for $1 million bajillion, and now they're trying to make some of that money back. It brings us to August 26th, man. Floyd Mayweather, Connor McGregor.
Want to touch on this?
It's fucking
I also
huge.
Yeah. Sorry, I also want to touch on this too. Back to the selling the big fight thing with John Jones calling out Brock Lesnar. There's more eyes on the UFC right now than there has before because McGregor and Mayweather. So that's why they're thinking to the future. That's a big money fight too. I mean, they already started with John Jones Cormier as the predecessor to McGregor Mayweather. And once that fight happens, they also have Mighty Mouse and Matt Gillis fighting. And then they're setting up future big money fights. So right now, like I said, Dana White's no dummy. He knows that all eyes are on UFC right now. They're all eyes are on the fight game with the McGregor-Mayweather fight. And they literally pulled out all the guns last night to secure the future of the UFC and make more money than they would make on a bad night. You know what I mean? Ever.
So we got the biggest fight possibly ever coming up here this month. Floyd Mayweather, pound for pound, you always say, because there's different weight divisions, and you never know what would happen between other people that are bigger than him. Pound for pound, best fighter in the world. Undefeated 49-0 boxer. And then we got Connor McGregor, the biggest star in UFC. Not necessarily the best fighter in UFC, as we talked about with Jones, but most certainly the biggest star, and not a fucking bad fighter himself either. Let's talk about this fight, how it came about, break it down a little bit here. What do you think, just in general, like when you heard that this fight was going to actually happen, and how do you feel about it?
Well, personally, I kind of always knew it was going to happen. Because, I don't know, it's one of those things, I guess, from pro wrestling when stuff gets kind of rumored and thrown against the wall. And you don't really believe it at first because it's just, bullshit talking. But it's like, there's too much money on the line for this not to happen. So, it was just a matter of getting, and God knows, especially with you, look back at Mayweather-Pacquiao. God knows Mayweather is not going to do it on his time. You know what I mean? It's the best circumstances for him. Very smart in that way.
This it seemed like it came up real quick. I mean, it's been talked about for a couple of years, but once it was announced, it was like it's happening in like 2 months. Why do you think so soon? You think it was just kind of like what we talked about earlier?
I don't buy that at all. I think it's very calculated. We're talking before. They're just trying to find the prime spot to announce it so all eyes are on them. There's no distractions. There's not the NBA finals. There's not this going on. There's not this going on in sports. So I think they like I'll say, Mayweather and Dana White are not going to do how to promote this thing. I don't think it was like, oh my God, it's going to be fighting in 10 weeks. Like, no, this has been working on for like the last 6 months, probably.
How do you think this came about? Like, how did this become reality? Obviously, Connor on his rise up was just shit talking, saying, I can kick anybody's ass, and even called out Floyd. This was right around the time Floyd beat Pacquiao. So he was I think, going into retirement at that point. So it kind of started as shit talk. Talk through how do you think it did come about and actually become official? Who's behind it? Who booked this shit, so to speak? And take that.
That's very interesting. I know there's definitely like Showtime. Definitely has his fingers, in the Mayweather, camp or whatnot.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, that's a damn good question, actually. I think that because of the rise of UFC's popularity as being the best fighters in the world, and like boxing having its shady history, like it was like the first time they could really get okay. Like when Antonio Inoki and Muhammad Ali happened, right? the first like pro wrestling versus boxing match.
Yeah.
Like Muhammad Ali was famous across the world. Antonio Inoki was famous on the west coast of America and Japan. And so like there's like an appeal for like that circle. But now look at how small the world is as far as, you know, seeing McGregor fights or Mayweather fights. I think like I've been watching both guys for the last couple of weeks, you know, different fights, trying to find different nuances, like what's it gonna be, what's it gonna be like, blah blah blah. I think it's a much smaller world, even though it's a larger
Sure.
world.
Yep.
You know, so I think it was just like, you know, so many more eyes were on the idea of, you know, who's a better fighter in sweet science fisticuffs. You know, we all know Connor's got a fist of guys, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, Mayweather is the best counter puncher of all time, or not the best. I'm sorry, the best defensive boxer of all time. You know.
Yeah. So it's what would happen if, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, like well, it's happening now with Ryzen and UFC and Bellator are starting to, but they're taking a lot of the notes from Pride back in the day, and they just kind of like, you know, play the freak show game, you know.
And pro wrestling. I mean, they're booking
absolutely.
it. The fights are real, but I mean, it's the angles are they're booked.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about finding an angle to sell the big fight. You know, I've heard a couple people after the John Jones fight last night talk about, oh, UFC is becoming like WWE. It's not about martial arts and the discipline and the humility and the blah, blah, blah. It's like, motherfucker, they're not in, like, you, it's like talking about, like, how wrestling, pro wrestling, like, you know, but you don't ever dictate the hardcore fans. Because they're always going to fucking be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know?
You got to bring in new eyes constantly.
Absolutely. And this is one of those things that does it, because it's something out of the box. It's not in the usual box. You know, and like that was, like I said, it's all about selling the big fight. That's all that matters. Like, you know, I hear people shitting on the idea of McGregor and Mayweather and, like, you know, even Lesnar and John Jones. But at the same time, like, Muhammad, you know, like, oh, they're just talking shit, they're just trying to this, that. Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time. He talked more people into the building than anything else.
Yeah.
It was always talking, you know?
That's
like
the
George
game.
He came great when he got that grill, but he was not Muhammad Ali level at the time that he fought.
Holly Holm beat the shit out of Ronda Rousey. She was a star for what, a hot second. Did a couple TV appearances when she won, and that was it. And then she killed the women's division because she's not a star, because she can't talk people into the building like Ronda can.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's the appeal. I'm sorry, like, if you're a martial artist, you're looking for pure martial arts, go to a fucking tournament at a high school.
Yeah.
They want to fill out arenas for $100 a goddamn seat because people are curious of what would happen if this guy comes from this world and that guy comes from this world.
Not to mention, the people who bought UFC are an entertainment company. They're not a sports company.
No, absolutely not. You know, absolutely not, man. And like, yeah, I was really thinking of Pride too. Like, they have the best fighters in the world, but okay, what happens if we put Crow Cop against fucking Giant Silva? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, what would happen when you have like the best, you know, high kicking knockout artist in the world against someone who's 7 feet tall, 400 pounds? What would happen in that situation? You know?
So how did this actually become? I mean, obviously, you know, I think we talked about why the fans want to see it. It's the what would happen if appeal, and then the money that can be made from it. So obviously, we know why the business people behind it want to bring it together. What brought Floyd out of retirement? And obviously, we know Connor. I mean, Connor, this is a win-win for Connor, and we can talk about that later. And he's gonna make tons of money on this. But what's in it for Floyd? Do you think he is in debt to the IRS and needs this fight?
I would say most likely yes. Just based off of, like, you know, you see guys like Wesley Snipes and a bunch of people who make this absurd amount of money but forget to pay their taxes. No, I wouldn't be surprised about it. And then, of course, when you're that rich, you always want to keep as much money as you possibly can. So it's probably plenty of loopholes. But at the same time, too, like, he's only 40 years old. He's still relatively a young man. You know, I mean, when you think about it, and you don't know as well as I do as you get older, like, well, during your 20s, you think your 30s are fucking super old, but when you get 30s, your 20s are shit. You know, especially when you look down the line, you know, so, like, he's still probably, you know, he's got a whole long life to live, and he's still an athlete. He still has some things to prove to himself, you know.
Would he have taken that fight if he wasn't in debt to the IRS?
Good question again. I think the paycheck alone will probably make him consider it.
Think he has any concern about his record?
Well, I'm sure he does, because it's a big marketing ploy, you know, especially guys at 49. I know it's been so good to imagine what 50 years old is, especially if number 50 is Conor McGregor. You know, that's a long-term investment, let alone the fucking $100 million he's going to pull into that fight. You know what I mean?
And what's the appeal that he sees in Conor? Do you think he sees the appeal in just a cross-promotion fight of historical value like the Inoki Ali fight, or is it just the dollars? He sees the money in Conor, or do you think there's something about Conor that he wants to work with him?
I think he sees the same thing in Conor that he sees in himself. He sees a very smart, calculated businessman, and he knows why Conor called him out, and like he sees why he's doing it.
Yeah, he gets it.
Yeah, absolutely. They know it's a business, and like there's a big whole thing with the press conferences, like when they went over to London. Oh my God, McGregor and Mayweather, they flew on the same planes. Like,
yeah,
well, yeah, it's way more expensive to fly on two planes than to go to the same spots. What the fuck business sense does that make? You know, and like they know what they're going for. Like when it comes down to that night, that's one thing. But up until then, they're not sitting there shit talking each other on a plane. They're running the numbers and talking that, make sure everything smooths out fine. You know what I mean? Hotels are booked, this, that, blah blah blah. You know.
Well, let's talk about each fighter a little bit more in depth here. You kind of give a good idea for anybody that's listening that maybe not be as familiar but is just interested in the spectacle of the fight. Let's talk about Floyd first. We covered it. You know, he's 49-0, undefeated. Was he featherweight? Talk about Floyd a little bit. His impact on boxing.
The greatest defensive boxer of all time, man. No question about it. That's like that head movement, his conditioning, just like he's ridiculous. Like you can't hit, we can't see like his head movement is just amazing, and like that's the big thing for what if we think Conor. Conor is classically known as a counterpuncher, but how do you counterpunch something you can't hit? That's tactic strategy. You know?
Yeah, Floyd's in the Matrix. He's Neo, so he can see those. He can see what you're doing before you're even throwing it, really. And he's, you know, can just see it coming, slow it down in his mind, and he's out of your way before you even know it. And he's real good at that kind of skills.
Oh, absolutely. And granted, he's not in his prime, like when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, and I'm sure, like, McGregor's probably going to bring it just as hard as De La Hoya did. But at the same time, like, he's not a young man no more, and he hasn't fought for a couple of years. But at the same time, I don't think that goes away. Like, he last fought 2 years ago. Like, he's been doing the last 2 years. I'm pretty sure as someone who's been in boxing since they're, like, 8 years old, I'm pretty sure they, even on their off, you know, with retirement days, he's been, you know, working out in the gym. What else does he know?
Right, yeah, exactly. And how did he get the 49 wins? I mean, is Floyd known as a knockout artist? Is he just kind of win by decision?
No. To quote Ric Flair, who has a 30 for 30 going on ESPN right now, they don't ask you, hey champ, how did you win? They ask you, hey champ, did you win? Like, I think Floyd Mayweather's last knockout was 2011, and like everything else, he just can't hit me, can't win. Period. Jab, jab, duck, duck, jab, jab, duck, duck. Guess what? At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Like, Tyron Woodley proved it last night against Damian Maia. You can't grab me. I'm gonna keep jabbing him. Looks like I'm winning the fight.
How did Floyd become the star that he was? Like, at what point did he become synonymous with boxing and the biggest name in boxing?
Oh, definitely the De La Hoya fight. Like, De La Hoya was the legend who was still more or less in his prime. And Floyd was like the cocky up and comer.
Is that when Floyd did his heel turn from Pretty Boy to Money?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's right around that time. 'Cause, like, yeah, he beat one of the greatest of all time, and Oscar De La Hoya on like Oscar's own show too. So like, that kind of just printed money for him too, ironically.
And he's a showman, right? I mean, we talked about a little bit with the Holly Holm, like I brought up, how she's clearly a better fighter than Ronda, but didn't match her star power. Floyd's a fucking star. He knows how to work a room. He knows how to promote a fight. Talk about that a little bit and what kind of power Floyd has in just star power and the ability to talk people into a building.
Well, let's face facts, man. Boxing is pretty much on its last legs as a combat sport and as a combat attraction. And he was the last real great one to do it. So he's definitely got a charisma. Excuse me. I think ultimately, though, too, where Floyd is incredibly smart is that he knows he can piss people off enough to where they want to see him get his ass kicked. And he knows how good he is. So he's more than happy to do it because no one can hit him. It's like, okay, I'm going to talk shit, you can't hit me, and then he goes down and proves that no one can hit me. I guess,
And that's the trick, because you don't talk people into the building to see you win. You talk people into the building to see you lose and want to see the other guy win. Because people just hate your cocky attitude so much, they want to see you get knocked the fuck out.
Oh, sure. Well, honestly, you know what people hate more than anything is winners. I think
they hate us because they ain't us.
Win, but like no one, like you want to see your friend do well, but not better than you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially when someone comes out and you know that they're good, and they tell you they're good. It's kind of like a fuck you, dude. Like, we don't need this. Like, I know you're good. Don't need to tell me you're good. Blah blah blah. So like, I think.
Yeah, and Floyd's really great at tying it back into the pro wrestling. He knows pro wrestling. He gets you wrestled at WrestleMania against the Big Show. He gets it. He gets what this business is. And when he's up there throwing money around on Money Mayweather, like I said, the heel turn, flashing his big checks. I mean, it's his character. He knows what he's doing. That's him.
That's why we come back around. Pro wrestling, MMA, boxing, all about selling the fight. Only the hardcore fans give a fuck about technique and this or that.
Yeah.
Casual fans want to hear people shit talk and watch people beat the shell at each other because they don't know the fucking finer details of a 1-2 combo or why you want to go up high, you want to go left, like what you want to put your arm over this way. They don't give a shit about that. They don't understand that. They know what it is to get punched in the face, and they want to see other people get punched in the face. And if they like you, they want to see you punch that guy in the face. If they don't like you, they want to see you get punched in the face.
And the hype going into a fight is the difference between a $100,000 paper, 100,000 pay-per-view buys, and 1 point so many million pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, I think like 5 million apparently is the numbers are suggested. So.
I believe it. Let's talk about Connor a little bit. On the flip side, UFC, hasn't been around as long as boxing. It's a new sport.
Yeah, it's been around as long as boxing. Really, 20 years old. He hasn't been around as long as boxing.
Especially in its modern form, because it had some shaky first couple of years there. But Conor McGregor, talk about where the hell he came from, about when he started to come up, and how he's made a name for himself.
He's pretty much kind of the same mold as fucking Mayweather, honestly. He just got it. He knew that he needed to become the best, and he trained his ass off to become the best. When he became the best, he knew that he had to sell himself. And he knew it can't be, oh, I just want to go up there and try to do my best, give 110%. And I love my fans, and, God, peace. Like, you're bullshit. No one wants to see that shit. Like, yeah, there's like it says in martial arts, like, oh, it's about humility and blah, blah. No one, that's great, and it really is. That's what it's about. But like, no one wants to pay money to see that shit.
So he kind of built his name. I mean, yes, he's a winner, accumulating wins, but he made his name being a shit talker, correct?
Absolutely. Talk people into the building, period.
And people believe it. I mean, there's a lot of people, I hate Conor McGregor. I want to see him get his ass kicked. That's all he does is talk shit. Well, yeah, duh. Look where the fuck he's at right now.
Yeah, right? You can't get to that level. I mean, like, the wrestling reference, CM Punk, like, everyone hated CM Punk in UFC and WWE on the indies because he thought he was the best, and he would tell you he's the best, and maybe he wasn't, but he told you that, and people kept wanting to see him fail, and what happened? More people came.
And though Connor is not undefeated, he's had some losses. He's not a slouch by any stretch. He wins, and he wins dominantly most times. And like you said, he's got that touch of death, that left hand. He knocks people the fuck out. He's definitely one of the best in the sport, no doubt about it.
He's probably the best as far as everything is concerned, whether it's technique or just the fact that he's the biggest seller, period. And when it comes down to it, like, do you ever say, like, the best technical guy is the greatest of all time, like, technically he is better than everyone? Or is it the guy who sells the most tickets and the guy who creates the most memories?
Absolutely, and he's the first champion in two weight divisions at the same time. I think there was some booking that kind of set him up for that, probably, to help build his star. But nonetheless, he's been there, made a name for himself in UFC. The king of trash talking. Nobody's better, in my opinion. Those
press conferences they had were fucking tremendous.
Yeah, let's talk about the press conferences. So we get to this, the fight's signed. We get to this point. They did a world tour where they hit, they had 4 cities. They did, like, LA, New York, Toronto, and London.
And Brooklyn. Yeah.
And it was just it was a show. This was they went there to put on a show. Let's talk about these a little bit. The trash talking on another level. Connor, I think, stole the show. Floyd brought the trash talk, but I don't think Connor's on another level when it comes to that.
No, absolutely. I mean, other than, I didn't see the one in New York, but I've seen LA, Toronto, and England. And, like, Los Angeles, like, it's close to Vegas, so, like, it wasn't so pro Connor or Mayweather got overshadowed, but as soon as they went to Toronto and London, no one, like, it really changed the Vegas betting odds how over Connor was with that crowd.
Yeah, Floyd's the heel in this fight, for sure.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know what it is. No one likes him. You know, like, they know he's, I don't want to say a scared bitch, but they know that Connor's a very aggressive fighter, where Mayweather is the best defensive fighter of all time. So, like, when he talks shit, like, the dude's just going to run for 12 rounds. And, like, back to that how you won it, did you win sort of thing. You know, Mayweather doesn't care about that. But right now, between those two, like...
Do you think Floyd is... I mean, when they did the face-to-face for the first time... Connor doesn't look shook. I don't know if Connor honestly thinks he wins, but I think he's convinced himself that he's definitely got a good shot. He doesn't look shook. I did see a little hint of bitch in Floyd's eyes. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I don't think, I mean, like, there's that ego thing where, you know, Floyd kind of thinks he is Money Mayweather, and he knows how big of a star he is, but he didn't realize what he was dealing with when it comes to promotional stuff. He knew what he was doing promotionally. He did not realize the level McGregor's on. I mean, the fact that how great McGregor was at improvising and turning everything against Mayweather. I mean, the backpack alone was amazing.
What do you got a school bag for?
You know, fucking read. You know, like, oh, don't give him any props, man. Don't give him any props. You're just baiting him, you know? Or, like, you know, the best thing, you know, Mayweather came up with this, like, you know, talking to Dana White and kind of just McGregor, you know what I mean? That was the best he had. Like,
right,
you know,
trying to put Dana White over and just saying that he's Connor's pimp.
Yeah, like, oh, we're really rich because we don't have to wear a goddamn suit and show we're rich. You know, that was the best you got to. Like, really? Well, like, he literally just burned you on everything you brought out, you know? Like,
what do you make of people were accusing Connor of going a little racist there for a minute? Did you hear any of that, or do you have any thoughts on that?
That's just shit talking, dude. Like, I know we live in a very highly sensitive age or whatnot, but that is like just two boys shit talking, period. Fuck off, it's racist.
Right, and I don't think that, you know, that didn't bug anybody, you know, Floyd, or, you know, you see Floyd's side when Connor's talking, they're laughing and stuff.
Suburbia getting upset about, oh my god, that's racist, oh my god. You know, like, you know, like, shut the fuck up. Like, you know, I consider myself not a racist person, and, like, I will, under the circumstances, I would probably say the same thing. And if it was my boy, like, he would know where I'm coming from. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't a bigot thing, like, you know, like, oh my god, you're black, I hate you because you're black. Like, no, just throwing out stereotypes and fucking shit talking that's been going on for hundreds of years. Shut the fuck up. You know it's gonna happen to two highly fucking testosterone, the fuck up fucking alpha males. So, like, you know, some shit, politically correctness gets lost in the moment, you know?
Then you got, I mean, him, Connor taking shots at the Showtime guy himself. That guy did not look used to that kind of shit at all. And Connor was getting a kick out of it because Connor was like, this is my show now. You know, I am boxing, he says. And he just walks around like he owns the goddamn place, says whatever he wants to say. He's talking shit to the Showtime guy himself, like, you ain't gonna do nothing. And that guy looked legit pissed. Everybody else was just kind of laughing because they get it, but that guy was kind of getting upset.
Like, that's one of those. That's when you have two massive egos, and you can't back you have two massive egos, and one ego can back it up, the other one can't, and the one that can't can back out. It's not like, oh, you're talking shit to me, McGregor? Fuck it, fight off. Yeah, you're gonna pass up $1 billion because someone will talk nice to you. Fuck off, you know.
I think, you know, as I watched that, you know, coming up a wrestling fan, I think, man, with the way that wrestling, at least WWE, is so sterile and PC and corporate. I mean, how big could a wrestling promotion be if they just let their guys go? Like, you see Dana, he just smiles when Connor talks shit. he's not concerned about people are gonna write hate letters to the UFC, or he's not worried about that shit. It's all a big fucking show, and at the end of the day it draws a lot of eyeballs. You think wrestling could take a lot from that kind of approach.
You would think so. WWE does not, but I think that's why New Japan is kind of coming up on them. Like, if you listen to anything, the Elite, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks do, they really don't give a fuck. They say whatever they want to say. I mean, like, there's a whole skit they have about fuck the revival from WWE,
yeah.
And they just say, fuck, they're going to break that fourth wall. And no one's going to say nothing to them because the box office receipts keep coming in.
Right, and that's how it should be, because that's... Yeah.
And that's what's about. It doesn't matter if you're like in pro wrestling, people are like, oh, we want pure wrestling and this, that. Oh, we want pure martial arts. Fuck that. Like, you're only going to get to a certain level. Like, no one gives a fuck about the pure level, especially people. I mean, there's hardcore people who do, but that's only like 40% of your fucking market. It's the other 40 to 60% that you want, and they don't give a fuck about. Oh, he said this not politically correct, or that's not traditionally the way it goes. No, they want people to shit talk and called out things, because like everyone's aware of everything now. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much information, it's almost hard to believe anything anymore because there's too much information. So when you get to that single objective thing that you want to watch, you want to see it, watch to the absolute extreme. That's the one thing you have, because you have 19 million other things you could go to if that does not capture your attention.
And that's what I think. I definitely don't want to get political at all, but I think just briefly, I think that's why Trump won in the end. He was so blunt and he's so outside the box in the way politics normally worked, and he just said what was on his mind, really didn't give a fuck what anybody felt about it. And to a lot of people, they like that. That's money at the end of the day, whether people get offended or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also shows like the whole. I think the one thing with the last few years, that especially with social media and everything coming up with the election and how people view things, like the divide is very prevalent now, more than ever has been. Because there's not people who are like, oh, I like that shit talking. No, I don't like that shit talking. Everyone has a voice for it now.
Yeah.
So like, I think there's always been that human divide, like 50-50, as far as, quote-unquote politics go, as far as you go back to the fucking, like, Roman Empire. I'm sure not everyone agreed with Caesar for the longest time, and there's a whole lot of people who agreed with them. And not to compare anyone to that, but, like, there's always been a divide, but now there's, like, so much information going out now that the divide is, like, so huge gap between that divide. It's just crazy, really.
After all the hype is done, though, these two are gonna knuckle up here, and it's gonna happen this month. How's this thing gonna play out? Like, not necessarily your predictions at this point, but let's kind of break down some of the ways that this fight could go. What are people expecting from this? What are people saying about it? What might end up actually surprising them? Or, what could happen or what will happen? Some thoughts on that.
Well, my rational thoughts are that Mayweather is going to win this thing because McGregor is walking into a world that he really doesn't know that much about.
It's a boxing fight. Floyd's the best boxer of all time. Connor's not even a boxer at all.
Yeah. Mayweather is the best defensive boxer of all time, and McGregor is probably the best counterpuncher in the UFC of all time. Now, how does that work out? Like, if McGregor's only limited, like, he can't leg kick, he can't check like that, and, gauge his distance with, some thigh kicks or inside thigh kicks. He's got to use that jab, and that's a whole new world to him. So, where does that leave him? Like, he doesn't it's a whole new world for him. Where Mayweather is the best defensive boxer of all time. Like, he knows how to. He wants to punch you in the face and have you punch him back. So he's gonna make you fucking miss. That's how he wins his fights. So it's like, 1-2. I hit you twice. You missed me 3 times. Guess who on the scorecard says I'm winning? You know what I mean? So it's a whole new element. But at the same time, like, you got the age difference. Mayweather's only 2 years removed from his last fight. He's still 40. And, as well as I do, as closing on our 40, we're not quite as able as we were in our 20s.
Sure. He would have lost a step from his prime, certainly, and even probably since his last fight or two.
Oh, absolutely. We're back to, not like he hasn't stayed somewhat sharp. He just hasn't had the focus to defend that title and put the money on the line, And it's not like he's not in shape. I mean, he looks no different. He looks like he's 25 years old, not 40 fucking years old, He's in that level of shape. But it's interesting, It's like, where do you go? I think Mayweather wants to take it a distance. McGregor wants to finish it early. So, who is at the advantage in that realm?
Well,
the whole thing.
McGregor wants to finish it early because he has no choice to. Most people think Mayweather is going to walk away with this just because he is such a good defensive boxer. That how's a guy that's not even a boxer going to come in here and outpunch him, touch him at all? There's people that say he'll be lucky to even hit. But Dana White has said it, and this has always been my biggest argument. Sure, Floyd's the better boxer, but Floyd's not a knockout artist, and I don't know how good of a chin Floyd has. Connor is a killer. He is a knockout artist. He has that touch of death. And if he can connect with Floyd, he very well likely could put Floyd to sleep.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. There's no doubt about that. I definitely think the strategy that McGregor uses in his UFC fights, he has to change a little bit because, like I was saying, he's a counterpuncher and Mayweather's a defensive boxer. So, those two things won't be a knockout. So I think McGregor has to use his size, his speed, close the distance, and work some dirty boxing. And when he clinch the fuck out of him, and when they come out with clinches, just those that 1-2 combo that you're at immaculate precision on. And that's definitely going to give him an advantage, but at the same time, Mayweather probably knows that, and he's going to, as he breaks out of a clinch, he's probably going to back up 4 feet.
Who's got the better clinch game? If it gets to a clinch, who's going to come out on top of that?
Oh, McGregor, easily.
Talk to the why. Why is an MMA guy have the edge on a boxer in a clinch? Because clinching is definitely a boxing thing as well.
Just the grappling knowledge, just from having judo training and BJJ training, he'll know, McGregor can clinch and work out his timing where Mayweather will clinch and then they get separated and they try and start from scratch. Or if they break up in a clinch, McGregor's going to be much more aggressive into it, I guess. Is the way to put it.
Is there any chance at all that Floyd? I mean, obviously there's a puncher's chance. So I shouldn't say is there any chance. But what are the odds that Floyd actually would knock out Connor? I hear people saying this and that. I definitely do not believe is going to happen. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think so. He's never shown. He's a technical boxer, and he's never shown in his prime that he's a knockout puncher. I mean, it's happened, but it's not. It's a whole different ball game now. You have a 28-year-old guy who hasn't had enough punches to the face where you'd be susceptible to getting knocked out by a single punch. Yeah. And the same thing goes for Mayweather too. He hasn't been hit enough. He's so good at his defense that he hasn't been hit enough to where he's susceptible to a knockout punch. So I don't think it's going to happen. And then Mayweather, his strategy is to just win a fight. It doesn't matter if it wins by knockout or it goes to distance. So
I hear another one I laugh about is a lot of people speculate that, Connor's going to get frustrated and get pissed and he's going to try to throw an elbow or kick him or something like that. I see no chance of this happening at all. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't see it happening at all. I just don't. People are like, oh, he's gonna leg kick him in the head, blah blah blah.
I would love to see it, but
yeah, it'd be great. And you get talking, you can have a rematch, and there's the whole pro wrestling booking thing in my head going about that.
Put it in a steel cage.
Yeah, right. Put him in the octagon. They already talked about it.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it happening. I think at worst case, honestly, because Mayweather is going to try to keep his distance, and I think maybe instinct might come in, like might throw a side kick at worst, just to fucking try to gauge the distance, to fucking set up his punches. Instinct might take over, and he gets pissed off, and blah blah blah. I don't see it happening. I think everyone wants it to happen, just so the freak show can have a freak ending. You know what I mean?
What's the legality in a boxing fight of faking a kick? You know, like maybe making it look like he's gonna throw one and then just punch him right in the face. I mean, can you fake one? Can you tease one?
I don't think you can, not under pure boxing rules. But at the same time, I don't think it's. I mean, if you're like 8 feet across and you kind of like lift your thigh like you're gonna kick someone, I don't think they're gonna be like, oh, you're trying to go for a kick that wasn't gonna hit, it was disqualified. I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, like, we'll go back to John Jones. When he's on suspension, he fought for a Submission Underground, which is Charles Sonen's pro jiu-jitsu league or whatever, and like they just grappled, but there was that one point where John Jones kind of fainted doing the spinning back elbow, and it was kind of just a laugh sort of thing. So maybe under those circumstances it might happen, but I don't see it happening. I mean, let's not forget that McGregor is also an Irishman, and like punching in the face is kind of like part of the culture. So
yeah, a lot of people, when they say Connor's not a boxer. Well, no, he's not a boxer, but he is a stand-up fighter. He's not a wrestler. He doesn't go in there and win his fights on the ground. He wins his fights standing on his feet, throwing punches. So he's not completely in foreign territory here.
No, he has no problem playing and banging. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, it's definitely a different style, but it's still punching people in the face and trying not to get punched in the face. Yeah,
and that's what it comes down to, man. Like, that's what's so intriguing. That's why when we're talking about the G1 climax, where we talk about the, potentially Jones versus Lesnar, why we talk about this fight, because it is so intriguing, not knowing what's going to happen. Like for example, I think wrestling kind of did this to me, but like when I watch like a Marvel movie or whatever, I really don't care how it ends. I'm curious to see how it gets there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what the biggest anticipation is. Like, we're watching everything happen. We don't really care how it ends. We don't care for Mayweather or McGregor. We just want to see how it gets there. And it is like, okay, McGregor wins. Like, all right, great. Mayweather wins. Okay, great. But it's everything building up to that. It's that anticipation to make everything so exciting right now. And you just don't know, because either one way or the other.
How do you see this going down? What are your predictions on this fight?
My predictions, I see Mayweather taking his distance, definitely dancing around and whatnot. I didn't see McGregor trying, getting frustrated from the lack of exchanges, when you have an Irish guy who's got a fucking temper and you got a black guy who does not give a fuck whether he knocks the guy out, and he just wants to make sure he gets that paycheck. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, there's gonna be that kind of conflict. I don't see them Mayweather being the defensive boxer that he is. I don't see him having a problem with McGregor's counter-striking abilities. However, like we were saying before, like if you can close in the distance and do some dirty boxing and come out with clinches and tag him a few times, I think that's going to be a whole difference in that fight. But when it comes to what I want to win, my brain says Mayweather, but my pocketbook is down McGregor because we're looking at plus 600 for McGregor and negative 350, or I'm sorry, plus 600 for Mayweather and negative 350 for McGregor. So like I'm willing to put down $100 to make like 500 on McGregor. So.
Wow. So you think? I mean, so what I gather from that is you think Floyd probably will win, but with the outside chance of Connor actually taking it.
I think if you're looking at it logically, McGregor's stepping the sport he doesn't know. I mean, I know he knows combat sports. Obviously, it's a whole different game in the boxing ring. Like, it really, really is. So like, then I can see, Mayweather is not dumb. Despite the fact that he can't read, he's not dumb. He knows where. I mean, he knows where the business of this is, and he knows he doesn't have to like win this fight. He just has to last this fight.
Yeah.
Check clears. You know what I mean? So like if he loses, the check clears anyway. So like, what the fuck does he give?
Do you think it's going to be an entertaining fight, or do you think it's going to be a bunch of people booing at their TV?
Either or, actually. Either it's going to be a fucking knockdown drag out in the first 3 rounds, or it's going to be the fucking most boring fight of all time.
Yeah. What I see happening here.
That's the thing, though, too, like, why it's so intriguing. It's like, it's going to go this way, or it's going to go the other way.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
it really can. That's how I see it, too. I'm torn. I mean, all logic will say Floyd's going to win this fight. I don't think he's not knocking Connor out, which puts it at a 12-round decision for Floyd. That's my best guess. But if Connor, I mean, I've seen, and I know you've seen with Connor's fights, he hits fucking hard. When he hit Alvarez, remember Alvarez's face? Like, he fell down on his ass, and the look that he gave Connor was like, holy shit, what did I just get hit by? It was like he got hit by a truck. He was in shock. And then you've seen, what was that?
You show like, whoa, man, I'm not even in this dude's league.
Yeah.
The accuracy and the punching power behind it's like, whoa, I'm done.
And it's sudden.
Oh, yeah.
Even Nate Diaz, I mean, he lost to Nate Diaz, but he put Diaz on his ass multiple times with punches, just dropping him. Didn't knock him out, but put him on his ass.
Fucking hell of a good boxer, too.
Yeah.
Like, he's a jiu-jitsu and boxing guy. He kind of throws kicks just because...
He's an old school scrapper. He's a scrapper.
No, absolutely. Like, he wants to punch and choke people. He doesn't give a fuck about,
So, I mean, with that said, I mean, I know Connor's got, even though he's bigger gloves, he's got that touch of death punch. And I think with his size advantage, he's got the youth on his side. It really, just takes that one good shot to put out Floyd's lights. And, I do think it's not hard to say that it could be, that Connor could be the one in 49-1.
No, I agree. And if he's not, then 15-0, and like, let's face facts, he can, we can talk about the greatest boxers in history. You can talk about Muhammad Ali. You can talk about Rocky Marciano, who died when he was undefeated in a plane crash or whatever. But like, he beats McGregor. He's 15-0, and like, back to they don't ask you, hey champ, how did you win? They ask you, hey champ, did you win? That's all that matters. You know, it's like they don't give a fuck how many interceptions Tom Brady threw in the Super Bowl as long as he won the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
What's the aftermath of this? Let's play this out in different ways here. If Floyd wins the fight, you know, nobody's going to be real shocked. He's going to get that nice paycheck, get himself out of the IRS trouble, and probably, ride off into the sunset being 50-0. And, you know, that's what he's looking at. And then if he does win, Connor, on the other hand, it's a win-win for him. I mean, if he doesn't get knocked out and embarrassed and he can go the full 12 rounds, at the end of the day, he made a shit ton of money. He raised his star, you know, like, to megastar. And nobody really expected him to win anyway, and he hung 12 rounds with the greatest boxer ever. So, you know, no shame in it, right?
Right. The way I look at it, and I'm hoping that with all the different boxing councils and board of directors and all that shit, I really, really hope that they put politics aside. They put the best boxers they can on that undercard, show what boxing is. Because it's a freak show. Mayweather McGregor is a freak show. And the sweet science should be shown in their card by the best that are out there today. So if Mayweather wins and they have a great showing on this card, it could hopefully resurrect boxing.
Put boxing back on the map again a little bit.
Even McGregor wins, you know. I think it will show the sweet science. I mean, I don't want to like say like boxing is a supreme combat sport. It clearly isn't. It's very limited. But like when you talk
it's a supreme punching sport.
Yeah, you know, like you're limited to this, and you can do that with this limitation. I think it's pretty amazing. I mean, when you think about it, boxing, you just use your fists. No elbows, no knees, no kicks, no chokes, no arm bars. Like, you know, in MMA, you have the whole world of fighting to you, but boxing, your fists.
Yep.
Gentleman rules, you know, Marcus Kingsbury rules, bare knuckle, fucking British style, you know what I mean? So, like, I think it would do a great thing for boxing, because it still is a fucking awesome sport that probably hurt itself because it tried to keep itself so real, and it was a work sport for the longest time ever.
What happens if Floyd wins? Or, I'm sorry, what happens if Connor wins? You know, we played out the scenario. If Floyd wins, it's good for boxing. Both guys come out of it looking good.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters if McGregor wins, other than he's going to have some great promos. So right now, like, with the fight last night, Jones challenging Lesnar. Tyrone Woodley is probably going to be fighting Robbie Lawler now. And then they're following up with Mighty Mouse and Nunes. Like, they are going to kind of like ride the wave UFC being like, best case, like, if you win, the UFC is the best fighting ever. So, like, if they're going to keep riding this momentum to the fucking bank. If not, who cares if they had so many eyes on them? There's like, if they had like 500,000 pay-per-views sold last night, and the next one like 1 million, but McGregor loses, like the next one's gonna be like 650,000 pay-per-view sales. Like, it's not gonna really matter. I think it's just the fact that McGregor has the ball and he is who he is. Challenging for this is gonna bring so much more to the UFC than MMA really in general.
If he wins, though, I mean, he made the comment on the press conferences, I am boxing. This is me now. This is my sport now. I own this ring, he kept saying. If he wins, he retires Floyd Mayweather with one blemish on his record. What happens then? Does he take another boxing fight? Does he just raise his UFC profile? And what does that do for combat sports in general? And what does that do for Floyd Mayweather?
Probably in the narrative that will probably drop Mayweather's legendary status down a bit and raise McGregor's. The fact that he's almost bigger than UFC in general right now, and
Yeah.
it'll show that like these guys are the best fighters in the world. It doesn't matter how they do it. It just matters if they do it. You know what I mean? Like they can go into, if McGregor knocks out Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match, what's the chances of him knocking out the heavyweight champ or the light heavyweight champion or whatever division he's in glory kickboxing? Like you have McGregor go on the world tour of fighting every individual martial art.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. It changes the game forever. It may already have changed the game forever, regardless of who wins. But any final thoughts on this as we wrap up here?
Yeah, I hope McGregor wins because I want to make some money on this. No, when it comes down to it, man, like I really hope everyone sees it for what it is. It's amazing because of we're talking about the unknown factor who could win this, and they can really see like. I don't know. Ultimately, I think like as a pro wrestler and a pro wrestling fan, I want everyone to realize what this is. It's about draw. It's about the what if. It's about the reason why we go to movies. The reason why we binge watch TV. But it comes down to this like core primal reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I ultimately want it to be. Like who is the best and who has the balls to be the best and who has the balls to talk this shit to be the best. And whether you go down, it's better to go down in a blaze of glory than to fucking walk with your tail between your legs.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be one hell of a show. It's coming up at the end of this month here. This is going to be released here right at the beginning of August. The fight at the end of the August, so I wanted to get it out in a good timely matter for this, and I think it's gonna be sweet. I think I'm super excited for this. I wanted to talk with you about it because I figured you'd be able to add a whole lot of good insight onto it from the fighting perspective, just with your experience, and then just because you're educated on it. I'm just very interested. Love talking about it, and very excited to see it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is, other than the Cubs winning the World Series, is like the most intriguing thing that's happened in sports in like 10 years. Like, really?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Mano y mano, and like that's more intriguing than any team sport thing ever. Because like, it's one thing like, I always get annoyed, like the Green Bay Packers, we're on our way to a playoff.
Yeah, you're on the team, really?
You're a fanboy. Shut the fuck up. But like when it comes to one-on-one, you can almost. It's more relatable. It's more like you could vicariously see yourself through that person's eyes as opposed to being perfectly out. Yeah. In my opinion, that's why I think it makes it more. It's more of a human interest thing. Like when it comes down to it, like back in the caveman days. Where okay, you fucked my wife, fuck you. All right, we're gonna stand in a circle with a fire and we're gonna fucking duke it out. Like the most primal freaking and it's fucking beautiful in its own sadistic way, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's do some plugs here for you. I mean, I didn't do much of an introduction because we already did that podcast where we talked all about you. People can go back and listen to that if they want to learn about you. But just rattle off, anything else that you want anybody to know. You're starting up a wrestling fed. You're staying busy. Talk about your shit.
Yeah, right, man. Right now, taking it'll be a complete year off in like a week now. July 31st was the last match I had in 2016. I'm looking to start my own promotion with a start my own promotion by myself with a few other people involved, a couple of sponsors, this, that, the other. It's called Aurora Pro Wrestling, and I'm looking to bring quality wrestling to the UP and not just some fucking knockoff bullshit. But at the same time, like, I'm looking to contemporize what would be pro wrestling in the UP, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the UP is more of a wrestling kind of territory, so I'm trying to bring a little bit of wrestling, but with, you know, 2000s, you know,
Bring it up to speed a little.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's a constant work in progress. I've had plenty of people by this point like, oh, I'm in, then I'm out, and then I'm in, then I'm out.
Yeah.
So, like, it's definitely, I always will tout and trumpet it, you know, the, you know, do-it-yourself movement, but do-it-yourself movement. It's definitely a pain in the ass when it is really by yourself. You know.
Well, you know, I always got your back. Anything you need, any help with that, you know, love to be involved. Good to hear that you're working on something and gonna get something going up there, and that's fucking dope.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was saying it's a work in progress, and like I'm constantly working every day towards that goal, and I hope if my vision comes through. I think it'll be good for everyone in the UP, everyone in downstate Michigan. Like, I know I got you hooked up with Rapid Pro, who she's starting up.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to get, like, you know, where everything's going. It's like it's a territory network, you know. It's gonna be multiple promotions on different names, but like everyone's kind of like very Three Musketeers, all for one and one for all sort of thing. We have
Instead of that, you know, whose dick's bigger than the other dick when everybody's working each other's shows anyway, and it's all the same shit, no matter what show you go to. You know, different bookers, but same wrestlers for the most part, and it's, you know, a lot more can get accomplished by working together instead of measuring dicks.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been dope talking to you, man. I think it's going to be a great fight. I thought we did some killer analysis on this, so we'll get it out right away and spread it around. And it's good talking to you again.
So fun. I want to do more of these things. We need to talk like aliens and UFOs and ancient civilizations one time or something.
That's it. We're going to deviate from combat sports for the next one, and we'll talk about some of that shit, because I love that shit too. So, hell yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
All right, Brian, take her easy. Bryan Skyline, the Underground Sound, the podcast for your mom's ass. Peace. All right, man. Good stuff.
You need to better go home line. That just sounds like weird.
I love the podcast for your mom's ass.
Like, what are you sticking in your mom's ass, bro? Like, I don't get it.
It's for your mom's ass. It's a rap thing.
It's like anal rape is going on. I don't know.